Hello, it's midnight and I'm Raymond Goh with you on Nightline. The headlines. Guidelines on reopening schools to be distributed Thursday, says Education Minister. And Job Street says companies are hiring again despite CMCO. Good morning. All the 35 government officers, including Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, who were ordered to undergo mandatory self-quarantine after they were found to be in close contact with an officer who tested positive for COVID-19, have been allowed to go to their respective offices to resume work. Health Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said all of them have completed their mandatory 14-day quarantine, which started on May 21st.
We have taken the swab. All the post-cap members are negative. So tomorrow they will resume, back to the normal work in the office, etc.
On the officer who tested positive for COVID-19, Dr. Noor Hisham said even the officer's condition was reported to be improving and swab results showed negative. On May 20th, the Prime Minister and 34 officers were asked to undergo self-quarantine at home for 14 days after an officer who attended the post-cabinet meeting tested positive for COVID-19. The school reopening management guidelines will be distributed on Thursday to allow schools and teachers to make appropriate preparations. However, the move for now will only involve Form 5 and 6 students who will be sitting for public examinations such as Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia (SPM), Sijil Vocational Malaysia (SVM), and Sijil Tinggi Pelajaran Malaysia (STPM) in nearly 3,000 secondary schools nationwide. Education Minister Dr. Muhammad Radzi said detailed guidelines for the movement of students in the school compound from the time they arrived until they left for home were formulated in collaboration with the Health Ministry and the National Security Council (NSC). This is to ensure the proper preparations could be made to ensure the schools are ready. He added the ministry has been in discussion with the schools to further improve the guidelines. But what's important is for everyone to play their roles, including the school management, teachers and parents, such as ensuring the child stays home if he or she has symptoms of COVID-19. Muhammad Radzi also said the State Education Department and the District Education Officers would play important roles in monitoring schools to ensure compliance with guidelines set. He also assured parents not to worry about sending their children to school. Instead, they should play a part in educating their children to regularly practice social distancing. The minister said this after a visit to see the preparations for school reopening at Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Engku Hussein in Semenyih, Selangor on Monday. Also present were Health Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah, NSC Director General Muhammad Rabin Basir, and Education Director General Dr. Habibah Abdul Rahim. On the date for school session to reopen, Muhammad Radzi said there was still no date set yet, and his ministry is working closely with MOH and NSC to decide on the matter. Once the government feels it is time to reopen the schools, an announcement will be made 2 weeks prior to the date. In Putrajaya, Health Director General Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said he is confident that the SOP for schools when it reopens will be enough to control the COVID-19 infection rate. He said after reviewing the SOP, he was satisfied with it.
Tetapi apa yang pasti kita masih belum lagi untuk membuat keputusan bila akan kita buka sekolah tersebut, tetapi garis panduan seperti SOP semua dah siap sedia, dan bila saya melihat kepada pelaksanaan tu, jadi saya yakin dengan sendiri, saya yakin dengan kemampuan SOP yang ada dapat kita membendung penularan jangkitan.
Dr. Noor Hisham elaborated that since there is no vaccine at the moment, the best vaccine is social distancing, adding that even though the minimum distance is 1 meter, it is better if the public practices a social distancing of more than 1 meter. Previously, the government had announced that it will give a 2-week lead time before announcing the date that schools will reopen. The Health Ministry on Wednesday announced 93 new COVID-19 positive cases, bringing the total number of infections to 7,970, with no deaths reported for the 12th consecutive day. Dr. Noor Hisham said all the new cases were local transmissions involving 91 foreigners and 2 Malaysians. Out of the 91 foreigners, 55 of them were from the Bukit Jalil Detention Centre, while 36 others were from the Pedas cluster. Dr. Noor Hisham also said 61 patients have recovered in the last 24 hours, with a total of 6,531 patients discharged since the COVID-19 outbreak began. Meanwhile, Dr. Noor Hisham said 3 housing areas in Sepang were placed under administrative MCO following the detection of a new COVID-19 cluster involving workers of a cleaning company. All residents in Taman Langat Utama, Taman Langat Murni 1 and 2 are now subjected to COVID-19 tests by the Health Ministry.
It's related to the locality. So because it's the dormitories, so they're involved in the taman, so we are screening everyone because perhaps there is actually an exposure when they go to the shop and etc. So we make sure that we screen everyone. So that's our modus operandi at the moment. If the locality or the targeted group has been identified, we will do what needs to be done that is actually condone the area. But this is not EMCO. EMCO, no in and out, basically, and we have to provide food for them and etc. Here, they still can come in and out, but we make sure that we screen everyone.
The estimated 9,000 residents in the 3 residential areas have been placed under the administrative MCO from 2nd June until 16th June. Actors and crew members of film production companies do not need to undergo COVID-19 screening before resuming filming, but they are encouraged to do so. Senior Minister for Security, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, said the mandatory screening will only be carried out if a positive case is detected among them. Production companies have to appoint a health and safety officer to ensure that a set standard operating procedures is followed at the filming location. Makeup and hairstylist must also wear face shields and gloves at work.
Peralatan tu khusus untuk setiap individu. Dia tidak berkongsi. Tidak berkongsi. Setiap artis tu berbeza dengan artis yang lain. Special peralatan untuk makeup dan sebagainya tu berbeza-beza setiap artis yang berkaitan.
The government on Tuesday announced a new SOP for production companies to resume shoots for films, dramas and commercials from June 10th. The Sultan of Johor, Sultan Ibrahim Sultan Iskandar, on Wednesday warned that the State Assembly will immediately be dissolved if the power struggle among the elected representatives continues. Expressing his disappointment, the ruler said the warning was issued because the political turmoil was far from over, with some power-hungry leaders still fighting for positions for their own personal interest. In a statement on his official Facebook page, he also said the assemblymen don't seem to care about the people and are willing to worsen the situation at a time when people are faced with hardship. He added he could not bear to see the people suffering and will not allow the state to remain in disarray. Should the State Assembly be dissolved, Sultan Ibrahim said people would be given the opportunity to elect their new representatives to serve them, instead of those who only care for their own party or personal interests. This is the second time Sultan Ibrahim has given a warning to elected representatives following political turmoil in the state. The first was on May 14th, when he reminded the state assemblymen that it was not the time for political infighting and backstabbing for personal gain, when opening the third session of the 14th Johor State Assembly. A recent survey in May revealed that more than 2 million Malaysians are expected to end up unemployed. However, since the start of the Conditional Movement Control Order, companies have started hiring again. JobStreet's country manager Gan Bok Hem says their survey revealed that companies that are hiring are those that are reinventing themselves to adapt to the new normal. The top 5 industries that are still hiring now are those in information technology, manufacturing, finance, retail and merchandise, as well as healthcare.
So as far as the top industries that are continuing to hire, I think it's not surprising we're seeing a lot of demand for IT-related type of jobs as companies embark on digital transformation and trying to get themselves ready from working from home and things like that. We also saw an increase in the manufacturing jobs, and as I mentioned, because Malaysia is a manufacturing hub, and as the economy opens up and the global supply chain starts to ramp up, we're seeing that factories opening and demand for manufacturing jobs also continue to rise. The other few other industries that we saw that continues to hire obviously is in banking and finance, retail, as well as in healthcare.
Companies that have reduced or stopped hiring, however, were those in travel and leisure, as well as the food and beverage line. In the survey conducted among 5,000 respondents, Gan said almost 20% of them were laid off from their part-time or gig economy type jobs. However, as businesses start to rebuild themselves, there is now a shift in demand for the traditional gig economy type of jobs to part-time roles with digital skills, such as digital marketer or network engineers. For fresh graduates entering the job market this year, Gan said there will be tough times for them.
Our advice to these graduates, a couple of points that I think is important for graduates, to take heart. Number one is, to do a little bit of more research in terms of the type of jobs that's available on the market, and also to, look at their own qualification and skill set. We also, see that, a lot more companies are emphasizing on soft skills, and it is also a good time for graduates to, take advantage while they're looking for a job to kind of bolster their qualification, especially around, things like communication skills, negotiation skills, and things like that.
Gan added that fresh graduates should stay positive, as companies do want a mix of fresh talents with new ideas and senior staff with experience, so there are opportunities out there. JobStreet has also started their #WorkNow initiative, where potential candidates on their online job search platform can use the hashtag to indicate to potential employers that they are ready to work. The prosecution in the trial of Datuk Seri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak's case involving SRC International Sdn Bhd funds today urged the High Court to convict the former Prime Minister on all 7 charges. Ad hoc prosecutor Datuk V. Sitambaram said the prosecution had dealt with charges of criminal breach of trust, CBT, abuse of position and money laundering faced by the former Prime Minister. For the 3 CBT charges, Datuk Sitambaram said Datuk Seri Najib had absolute knowledge that the 42 million ringgit in his 3 accounts was from the SRC, adding that SRC suffered a loss of 42 million ringgit while the accused gained 42 million ringgit. For the abuse of position charge, the DPP contended that Datuk Seri Najib was able to influence the drawdown of the 2 billion ringgit Retirement Fund Inc. KWAP loan in its entirety. Lastly, for money laundering charges, the DPP argued that any reasonable person, most notably a person holding the highest office in the country, would have taken serious action if illegal monies were discovered in his personal bank accounts. Datuk Sitambaram said it is considered willful blindness when Datuk Seri Najib failed to inquire about the source of the money that flowed into his account. Datuk Seri Najib is facing 7 charges of misappropriating 42 million ringgit in SRC international funds, comprising 3 counts of criminal breach of trust, CBT, 3 counts of money laundering, and 1 count of abuse of position in relation to the SRC funds. The hearing for the submissions before Justice Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali continues on Thursday. Still to come on Nightline, Buih food poisoning incident claims first victim. Details when we come back. Welcome back. The arrest of a Bersatu Youth Wing ARMADA leader by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC is in connection with their investigation into the 250,000 ringgit cash that went missing from Syed Saddiq Syed Abdul Rahman's house. This was confirmed by MACC Deputy Chief Commissioner of Operations, Dato Sri Ahmad Kusairi Yahya, who said the suspect was arrested at the MACC headquarters on Tuesday after giving his statement. Dato Sri Ahmad Kusairi urged the public not to make any speculation or politicize the arrest. The suspect was remanded for 5 days from Wednesday. The upward trend of road accidents caused by drunk drivers this year is worrying. According to Bukit Aman Traffic Investigation and Enforcement Department Director, Dato Azizman Alias, so far this year, 22 of such cases with 9 deaths and 13 people injured were recorded between January 1st and end of last month. This compared to 23 accidents related to drink driving with 9 fatalities and 14 injured victims throughout last year. Since 2018 until last month, it was also reported that a total of 29 people were killed, while 41 others were injured as a result of drink driving around the country. Due to this, police said it will step up its crackdown operation dubbed Op Alcohol nationwide to curb the issue of driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs or DUI. During the same period this year, 22 arrests have been made with 10 offenders already charged in court, while another 12 still under investigation. As for last year, 23 arrests were made with 18 charged in court, while 5 people were being probed by cops. Out of 1,213 inspected during 278 police operations around the country, a total of 822 people were arrested after they showed blood alcohol content that exceeded the permissible level. All the cases were investigated under the Road Transport Act. Over in Terengganu, a victim of the Buih food poisoning incident in Terengganu has died at the intensive care unit of Sultan Nur Zahira Hospital. The 25-year-old woman died at 10:40 a.m. on Wednesday due to septicemia shock and multi-organ failure, some 10 days after consuming the local dessert. State Executive Council member Dr. Alias Razak said the woman who was admitted to hospital on May 24th was the first person to have died following the food poisoning case. The EXCO member, who is Local Government, Housing, Health and Environment Committee Chairman, added that the cause of the food poisoning was due to the use of expired eggs by the trader to make the dessert.
Telah membuat siasatan dan dah tahu punca pun, dan kita pun telah ambil tindakan kepada hamis tersebut. Itu nasihat saya lah kepada pengendali makanan kita seluruh ni dengan seluruh negara lah. Faktor menjaga kesihatan ni sangat penting, khususnya kesihatan diri. Pada kita ada pemeriksaan kesihatan bagi pengendali makanan, kena cocok typhoid dan sebagainya.
The victim, together with several family members, were treated at the same hospital for diarrhea, vomiting and fever after consuming the contaminated pudding that was bought online on May 22nd. The State Health Authority had recorded 99 food poisoning cases believed to be caused by eating the local dessert involving 20 families, with 77 victims from Kuala Terengganu and 22 from Marang. UK to change immigration rules for Hong Kong citizens. The details when we come back. On to the foreign front now. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced that the United Kingdom will consider revisions in its immigration rules, giving more Hong Kong residents a path to residency and citizenship amid China's plan to impose a new national security law in the city. Johnson's announcement formalized a proposal made by UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab last month to extend rights granted to holders of British national overseas or BNO passports. The Prime Minister also confirmed that if China passes the law, people in Hong Kong who hold BNO passports will be allowed to go to the UK for 12 months without a visa, compared with the current 6 months limit. Around 350,000 people in Hong Kong currently already have a BNO passport, but 2.6 million others are also eligible. The decision has already been met with outrage by Beijing, which accused London of breaching its treaty obligations. In India, cyclone Nisarga ripped roofs off homes in a coastal town near Mumbai Wednesday after officials ordered offices and factories to shut and told people to stay home, reversing a move to ease a coronavirus lockdown in the Indian mega city. The cyclone is now reportedly moving towards Mumbai, with authorities having evacuated at least 100,000 people from flood-prone areas in the states of Maharashtra and Gujarat. According to the Indian Meteorological Department, IMD, the storm made landfall near the coastal town of Alibag, around 100 kilometers south of Mumbai. The IDM also warned of heavy rainfall, with winds of 110 kilometers per hour and gusts of up to 120 kilometers per hour, as well as storm surges up to 2 meters high. It is understood that those evacuated included nearly 150 coronavirus patients from a recently built field hospital in Mumbai, underscoring the difficulties facing the city ahead of the monsoon season as it struggles to contain the pandemic. Singapore has confirmed an additional 569 cases of COVID-19 infection Wednesday, as the total number of cases tally breached the 36,000 mark. According to its health ministry, there are 7 community cases, with 1 involving a Singaporean or permanent resident, while 6 are work pass holders. So far, Singapore has classified 1,689 as community cases, 580 as imported cases, while the rest of the 33,567 involved foreign workers residing in dorms. It is understood that a total of 23,175 patients, or about 65% from Tuesday's cumulative tally of 35,836, have fully recovered. 3 new clusters have also been identified on Tuesday. All were dormitories. Meanwhile, Indonesia reported 684 new cases on Wednesday, taking the total number of cases in the country to 28,233. Its health ministry official, Ahmad Yuryanto, also announced 35 new deaths related to COVID-19, taking the total to 1,698, while 8,406 people have recovered. Jakarta province records the highest number of deaths, with 523 cases, followed by East Java, 429 cases, and West Java, 154 cases. In the meantime, Italy reopened to travellers from Europe on Wednesday, 3 months after the country went into coronavirus lockdown, with all hopes pinned on reviving the key tourism industry as the summer season begins. However, international flights were only expected to resume in 3 main cities, namely Milan, Rome, and Naples. To date, Italy has officially reported more than 33,000 deaths and more than 233,000 cases. Now let's take a look at the highlights in Malaysia's main newspapers for Thursday, June the 4th. The New Straits Times focuses on the school reopening guidelines prepared by the Education Ministry. Best-selling Malay newspaper Harian Metro underlines Sultan of Johor's stern action or stern warning to state assemblymen following the ongoing political turmoil in the state, while Berita Harian highlights on the 5 industries that are still hiring despite the Conditional Movement Control Order. A report on the possibility of a merger between KTMB and RAC gets the front page of the Malaysian Reserve. Do get your copies today or subscribe to the e-paper. Now, over in Brazil, former national striker Fred is leaving Cruzeiro FC to return to his previous team, Fluminense, in a rather unique way, as he decided to ride his bicycle for about 600 kilometers from Belo Horizonte to Rio de Janeiro, where he will rejoin his former club at the end of the week. Let's take a look at this. I'm Raymond Goh. Thank you for tuning in and stay safe.